Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brooke. My pronouns are she, her, and we have a chaotic reading vlog for you this week. I have basically a lot of books on the go, plus an ebook. Toss that up there. And I'm gonna try to read them all this week. Or at least some of them. I feel like all of them is ambitious. Okay, because I have to work this week. Also, I'm working a lot of open to closing shifts, which doesn't leave a lot of time for reading, unless it's really slow at work. Then we can kind of sneak in some pages. Anyways, let's talk about what I'm reading. Let's count how many books first. We have 3, 4, 5, 6 books. I just can't vibe with any of them. I vibe with them for a little bit and then I'm like, I kind of want this. So I then read some of this and I go, I kind of want this, and I go back to something else. It's a problem considering that I am 18 books behind in my reading goal this year. Yikes. Let's start with the one that currently has my attention, which is A Game of Fate by Scarlett St. Clair, which is the Hades POV of the A Touch of Darkness series that this author has written and is writing, and I'm enjoying it so far. This one is capturing my attention the most. I'm on page 140 of, so 402, let's go 402. 140 of 402 pages, but it's like very narrow in comparison to like a regular trade paperback. Do we see that? Nah, it's just, anyways, it's narrow. So I feel like there are less words on the page for some, I don't know. Anyway, this is what currently has my attention. This is what I would love to finish in the next day or so. However, before I move on to the other physical books that I'm reading, I have to read The Charm Offensive by Alison Cochrane. This is my book club pick for the month of June. It is a LGBTQIA+ rep book, and the book club meeting is, I believe, on Tuesday. Maybe it's Wednesday. And I haven't started the book yet. So I'm gonna try to binge read that. I'm off work tomorrow. There are 359 pages, so I'm going to try to binge read that in the next couple of days. It is a rom-com, so I feel like it'll be a good breeze to read, but that has to be a priority. I'm also reading The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chokshi. I'm on page 108 of this one, of also like 390 something. This one's a YA fantasy heist plot. I've seen, if you love Six of Crows, you'll love this book. I have been reading this book for like over a month now, and I just like put it down to start other things and haven't been able to pick it back up yet. I have been enjoying it. It just hasn't like gripped me yet. We're still in the build of the main conflict. So I feel like once the sort of ball drops in this one, I will not be able to put it down. However, enjoying that. So we're reading that as well. Then I am like a third of the way through, 2/3, just over halfway through Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. This is a general fiction about Shakespeare's family. The interesting bit is that Shakespeare is never once named by name in this book. He's always referred to as the brother, the husband, the son, which is super interesting and puts a really interesting focus on his family. We sort of get dual timelines. We get the present day and the past of the son meeting his wife and sort of the establishment of their relationship, which is super interesting as well. The writing is very beautiful, but I've been reading a lot of fantasy and it's been hard for me to switch gears into general fiction. The writing styles are very different in these genres, so I just have to like wrap my head around that, but I'm really enjoying it. And as an actor, I think it's like very interesting to read something that sort of, you know, classical actors and like trained quote unquote actors sort of deal with a lot. It's just like fun to get like a different perspective on Shakespeare, and this book is, I hear rave reviews about it. It is very intriguing thus far. So I would like to finish that. I'm on page 164 of 305. I just read the last words of the book and oh, it's gonna be sad. I hear it's a sad ending. The other book I have started is Gods and Monsters by Shelby Mahern, which is the third book in this trilogy, the Serpent and Dove trilogy. I have this on loan, so I'm nearing the end. I need to finish it. However, I'm on page 428 of 612, so I'm like decently close to the end. However, it's making me mad and I had to put it down for a while. I was like, I hate this. I don't hate it, but it's just, I'm like, why? What was the reason? If you've read this book, I feel like you will agree with me. Without giving too much away, my favorite part of this trilogy is the relationship between the two main characters and just like how they play off of each other throughout the series. And we lose a lot of that in this book due to two circumstances. We only get a very brief look at them normally, and then things are happening that makes me mad. And I go, why was it necessary? You know, did we have to? Like, I have considered DNFing this, but I will probably finish it just to know what happens eventually. The other book I haven't started, but this one is also on loan, so I really need to start it and get it finished because she's overdue. This is Forging Silver into Stars by Bridget Kemmerer. Bridget Kemmerer wrote the A Curse So Dark and Lonely series, and this book is a spin-off of this series. I believe it's a series spin-off. There's going to be more books in this, and I just freaking adored the A Curse So Dark and Lonely trilogy, so I was like super excited about this. We get to see sort of involvement of a few characters from that trilogy, and we will see our main characters from that trilogy in this book too, but we follow some different characters, and I'm just very excited about it. I'm very excited to get into this, but I have to read that because it's overdue. It's chaos right now. That's all I can tell ya. Good morning. Quick reading update before I go off to the gym. Last night I finished A Game of Fate and started the Charm Offensive, which is the June book club pick for the book club that I'm in. The meeting is tomorrow, and I haven't even finished the first chapter, so we're gonna have to do some binge reading this evening after work, and like maybe at work if it's dead, you know, who knows. So there's that. It's problematic, whatever. Game of Fate I enjoyed. I don't think I loved it as much as A Touch of Darkness. I feel like I was very intrigued by the concept of writing the full story over again from a different perspective, and I still enjoyed it, but I wish we had seen more of what Hades does in like the day-to-day. We got a little bit of it, but I just wish there was more actual plot for him, and that like we could see Persephone being a bit of a disruption to his world more. Instead it seemed sort of like a play-by-play of all of their time together just from Hades' POV, and like so much pining, and all he thought about was having sex with her. That's it, really. And I was like, that got old very, very fast for me. I was like, okay, do you have no original thoughts in your head? Like what? You know? And I feel like we sped through all of the events of A Touch of Darkness and just to get Hades' POV of their time together, and I didn't love that. Like, I wish it could be its own standalone book, and I don't think it would make too much sense if you hadn't read A Touch of Darkness first, because we get so much with Persephone's POV and just less with Hades, in my opinion. So I gave it a 3.5 stars. I definitely will read Game of Retribution, which is the next book, which is A Touch of Ruins. companion book, Hades POV, so definitely read it. It's definitely a good read if you're looking for something like indulgent, just something to get lost in, because it's very easy to do that. It's still a very enjoyable story. It's got some good smut. So if you're looking for something like that, definitely pick it up. But if you're looking for like an immersive fantasy romance, maybe less so. I would maybe go for something else. Those are my thoughts. Charm Offensive, I've just barely started. I started it late last night and I went to bed, so I have no real thoughts on that yet. But we're switching gears from fantasy to rom-com and I need to wrap my head around it. Hi, hello, reading update before I go to bed. So it is the 29th and it was meant to be book club today. However, I worked an open to closing shift and was exhausted, so I didn't end up going to my book club meeting today. And I also didn't finish the Charm Offensive, and I don't think I'm going to. I got like 100 pages in and I go, not vibing, not really feeling it. It's kind of giving me the ick. So basically, if you've never heard of the Charm Offensive, it is a gay relationship rom-com that is set on a reality television show that's kind of like The Bachelor. That's the premise. It's like one guy, 20 girls, and like they go on little dates and whatever, blah blah blah, they find love. This one is like very fairy tale themed. However, so the two main characters are Charlie, who is the Prince Charming on the show. He's the one looking for love, and we have Dev, who is a producer on the show and Charlie's handler on set. So like he coaches Charlie on like what to say, what to do, what to ask the girls on his little like dates, and like preps him for the events and things. And so like the premise of the story is that like instead of falling in love with one of the 20 women, Charlie falls in love with Dev, and they get like a happily ever after or something. However, so Charlie is a character who is physically appealing, aesthetically pleasing. He's a big tech person. He works in tech, but he has a lot of mental health issues, mental health struggles, social anxiety. He's a germaphobe, and he's got like OCD are the three main things that I have seen thus far, only 100 pages into the book. He's very uncomfortable, and like as the story goes on, it's revealed that like he is not there on the show to find love. Like there's an ulterior motive as to why he's on the show, and he really doesn't want to be there. He's not comfortable with it. He panics. It's like not his thing. And so I just like had a really hard time with how pressured Charlie was into doing things on the show. Pressured and sort of forced into doing these things on the show that he was like very clearly uncomfortable with and very clearly like upset and was a little bit traumatizing. I had a hard time with that, and I just like don't think I can continue the book for that reason mainly. It's just giving me the ick, and I go, not necessary. Like we can have mental health representation and mental health struggles without forcing the triggers onto the characters. Like it was like giving me anxiety just reading about it. I'm like, he's very clearly not okay. Like yikes, you know? Anyways, also I read a couple of reviews by Indian American readers who Dev is meant to be Indian American. He has Indian heritage, and these particular reviews that I had read were quite upset with the representation. They didn't feel like it was true POC representation. The author is white, and so they felt that the author didn't do enough research and just put the POC character in just to have a POC character, and they felt misrepresented in the book because of lack of heritage in this character. And basically like one of the points was like if you westernized the character's name and made it sound like a white sounding name, then the book would read the exact same. And they said that this was a negative point, which I can definitely see why. Like if you're gonna have a POC character, like do research and have sensitivity readers and like make sure that it's not just like token POC, which is what these particular reviewers felt this character was a little bit. And I can see that, and I think it's important to look at that and listen to that. And so I was just like, overall, I liked the characters' personalities and sort of how they got on together, but I just don't think it's for me. I just don't think I can do it, so I'm not going to. We're gonna move on. Hi, buddies! I don't know what that was. It's fine. I finished 2 more books, one last night and one this morning. Hooray! I'm so excited. So last night I finished Gods and Monsters by Shelby Mahern, which is the 3rd book in a trilogy. Honestly, was disappointed by this book. It felt like a filler book. Like, I feel like the first 2/3 of the book just like wasted my time. The real story, what I wanted from the book was in the last third, and I feel like we could have expanded on that so much more. I just am like, I don't know if the author just had too many ideas that she wanted and didn't have more books to write for this story or what, but I'm underwhelmed. I'm sad. One of my favorite things about this series was our main characters, the 2 love interests, and how they interacted. She's a witch, he's a witch hunter. They were forced to get married because reasons that I can't say or I'll ruin it. And their dynamic was just like hilarious. Like, she is so catty and witty and he is so reserved and pious, I guess, and they just got on in such a hilarious fashion. And I didn't get it in this book because of certain circumstances, which I cannot say, that like incapacitated the characters, and it was really sad, and I missed out. Like, their relationship sort of made up for other aspects that lacked in this series, and without that in this book, it was just like, meh. The last third of the book I liked. It was just the first 2/3 that I was like, okay. I think I gave it a 2.75 because like I still enjoyed it, and I want to reread the entire series now that it's completed. I just want to see like how it reads all together, but that won't happen for a hot while. Anyway, so I finished that. And then this morning I finished Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell, which, holy heck, the storytelling, Maggie O'Farrell, a storytelling master, okay? The nuance, the detail, everything was so thought out and specific and planned, and like the way the story is told is just kind of brilliant in how it works for the characters and shows the reader the characters' arcs and journeys so that you better understand them and their motivations. Like, it's just so masterful and so well done. It's beautiful. So I think I talked a little bit about this at the beginning, but it's basically the story of Shakespeare's family. However, Shakespeare is never once mentioned by name. He's always referred to as the husband, the son, the Latin tutor, just titles that kind of relate him to that part of the story, so you know who he is, but he's never directly mentioned. And it's told from the perspective of his family, so his 3 children and his wife. And we go kind of back and forth between past and present of when he and his wife meet, how they fall in love, decide to start a family, that kind of thing. And also the present of where the twins get sick and leads to Hamnet's death. And the sort of timelines converge on that point of loss. And then we watch beautifully as Maggie O'Farrell writes grief. It just resonates. It's just the way she describes grief and portrays grief in this book is just masterful. I have no other words. Like, she just depicts how confusing grief is and like how grief sits in every person differently. Like, it's just so beautiful and nuanced, and all of the characters have their own personalities and they're so individual, and you can see how everything that happens in the book affects them individually and differently how they see the world, even if they're not the focus of the scene. Like, it's just so well done. It's so beautiful. It is like a longer read. It's very detailed, very descriptive. And for me personally, I tend to struggle with things that flip back and forth from present to future. I really don't care so much about the past stuff. I care more so about what's happening in the present. However, this one, I think the flip back and forth from the past is important to the storytelling, and it works really well for this book. So go into it knowing that it's super detailed and the descriptions are long and beautiful. Go into it knowing that it flip-flops, but that it's important. And I think you will better appreciate this book instead of focusing on like why we're flip-flopping. Does that make sense? I don't know, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Just like go into it knowing it's a slow-paced, detailed read, and I don't think it will disappoint you because she's freaking amazing. That I gave a 4.75 stars. Because it's beautiful, but it didn't just like grip me to my absolute core. It did take me a little bit to read it. But that's a me thing, not anybody else. So it's a high, like, read it, just read it. Especially if you're a fan of Shakespeare, read the book, just do it. It's good. Good morning. So I have yet to finish The Gilded Wolves. I'm on chapter 15. And I'm enjoying it, but I'm just struggling to like find motivation to read it right now. It's nothing to do with the book, it's just sort of my mindset. So I have borrowed the audiobook from Libby, and I think I'm going to listen to the rest of the book and finish it that way. So overall, like, I think I did pretty good this week in finishing pretty much all of the books that I had started. So you know what? I need to vlog more because when I vlog, I read. So thank you for that. And I hope you enjoyed. I am so excited to like start reading some of these bad boys. We're not gonna talk about it, it's fine. Thank you all so much. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you next time. Bye.